My job is to do whatever I can to get this economy moving. My job is to do whatever I can to spur job creation. My job is to look out for middle-class families who are struggling right now to get by, and Americans who are out of work through no fault of their own. A long political fight that carried over into next year might have been good politics, but it would be a bad deal for the economy, and it would be a bad deal for the American people.
Welcome back to Hardball. That was President Obama, of course, today, vigorously defending his deal with Republicans to extend the Bush tax cuts and take other matters at hand. Chuck Todd's NBC's White House correspondent, of course, and NBN. We also have Time Magazine's Mark Halpern joining us again. He's MSNBC senior political analyst. Chuck, I like the president when he's strong and doesn't try to pretend he's somebody else. He seemed like president today on the economy and to a lesser extent on the politics.
Well, look, he was very fired up on the politics. It's a tough position to defend. He himself acknowledged it, right? He sat there and he said, look, the Republicans wouldn't budge. He basically said, they outmaneuvered me because I'm up against the clock. And this December 31st is a real time, a real buzzer that he has to deal with. This isn't, as he said, a political debate that he can keep having and keep having because it has real consequences, was what he was trying to do. I think the fieriness was fascinating. I can tell you already a lot of folks on the left are a little irked that it took this to fire him up, to show some passion when he's lecturing the left, lecturing his own base. But the fact is he had to do this because here's the political reality, Chris. Right now, he does not have the votes in the House, in the lame duck House, to get this deal through. He may end up getting them. Vice President Biden's is helping whip votes behind the scenes. But that's why he had to do this press conference today, Chris.
You mean even if with a combination of most of the Republicans in the House and perhaps the Democrats have been beaten that might want to help them for future friendship, there's not enough for 218?
The problem is he can't. John Boehner has not guaranteed the entire House. Yeah. John Boehner has guaranteed some support, probably half, maybe a little bit more than half. So you're still looking at a good chunk of Democrats that they're going to have to get. Now, look, we've done our own survey of at least some Democrats that eked out very narrow elections. Of what we're finding fascinating, look, the loudest voices in opposition are those from the safest districts.
Yeah,
and guess
sure.
what? The folks that are more likely to support this deal on the Democratic side are the ones that just got out of tough races.
Yeah, that's so true. Let's go right now. Let's take another look before Mark gets in. Here's the president talking about the American people being held hostage. This is powerful language to say that the people are being held hostage by the opposition, and he doesn't want to see them get killed in the hostage attempt to save the hostages. Here he is. Let's listen.
I've said before that I felt that the middle-class tax cuts were being held hostage to the high-end tax cuts. I think it's tempting not to negotiate with hostage takers unless the hostage gets harmed. Then people will question the wisdom of that strategy. In this case, the hostage was the American people, and I was not willing to see them get harmed.
You know, this show, Mark's about debates. I'm always interested in both sides. What is the actual alternative argument against the president's position from the left? What would they like him to actually, not talk, not yell, not get red-faced, actually do?
Chris, you booked the wrong person if you want to hear that. I have extraordinary intellectual sympathy for the president. I think everything he has said leading up to this agreement and everything he said today on the merits is absolutely right. I think he's making things worse for himself, though, by having, as Chuck pointed out, more energy and apparent peak at the left than he does, or at least as much, at the Republicans. He showed, I thought, no grace today, no humor, no sense of bigness. That's what he needs. He's now put himself in the middle. The Republicans are no great friends of his all of a sudden. Yeah. They're taking shots at him. The left is very angry. He's putting himself in a risky place in the middle where there's a lot of people, as he pointed out repeatedly, the public's with him. But he needs to be bigger, I think, than he was today stylistically.
Well, good point. Let's listen to him now today. Let's see what he's doing today. Here is another piece of what he had late this afternoon.
To my Democratic friends, what I'd suggest is let's make sure that we understand this is a long game. This is not a short game. And to my Republican friends, I would suggest I think this is a good agreement because I know that they're swallowing some things that they don't like as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing them on the field of competition over the next 2 years.
Wow, there's somebody home, Chuck. Did you see those eyes wide open? His eyes, I've never seen his eyes so wide open, if that's human language. He's directly talking to people, if you will. He's saying to the Democrats, I don't like your barking at me. And maybe that's natural human. You know, all three of us know watching politics that the fiercest fights are always within your own party. The toughest shots come from behind you.
Always.
And
Yes.
that's the ones that go after your character. All this talk about manning up and being tough and wussing and Bill Maher going after him. And I would think that would be tougher to take than John Boehner taking some shot across the aisle at me. I could laugh at that.
Well, that's right. Look, I think what you saw is Barack Obama, the radical pragmatist. You know, what's different from him than Bill Clinton is true, I think, more of a centrist ideologically than perhaps President Obama is. But President Obama is a pragmatist. He ran as a pragmatist.
Yeah.
His entire campaign was about pragmatism. And I think this was their, look, I'll tell you this, the White House is pretty happy with this performance today. I think they feel like as if this was the president showing that he's in charge, it's his town, he'll do what he has to do to get some of these things through. But I do think, you know, the very muted response so far among Democrats in response. We have not seen many actual lawmakers go public since the president talked. Now, part of that is because there's still a few things happening behind the scenes. You know, he is going to have to very early now, if he gets this vote, and I think he's going to get it, very early in January, February, he's going to have to show backbone and go after the House Republicans a little bit and McConnell a little bit to sort of regain the faith of the left.
I got a bigger point. Rather than go after them, I'd say challenge them to do something about long-term debt reduction. Do it, guys. You're the party of fiscal responsibility. You Tea Party types out there, start blowing some steam out of your teapots and actually do something about reducing long-term debt. Don't just try to get yourself elected again. That's what I'd like to see.